Hi, this is Richard Murray with another session of Parking Lot Theology. I want to talk to you today about Adam, the first man, and obviously the first woman, Eve, as well. Is that story to be read literally, or is it to be read figuratively, or even both on some level? And more importantly, what exactly are we supposed to draw from Adam today, here and now, in the new covenant with Jesus? What is it we're supposed to understand about the first Adam? Are we to understand him as a human being that ended up, as a single human being who ended up captivating all of us to the power of sin? Or is there another dynamic going on here? Is it pointing to something else for us today, here and now? I think that it is. And I think that Adam, when we read it and when we process the term Adam, that we're going to get more juice out of it if we look at Adam as a mindset, as a nature, as a stronghold of thinking or feeling, a carnal way, a carnal approach to life. So that when we hear the term Adam, this is really the sin nature, whether we want to call it the sin nature, our carnal nature, our selfishness, self-centeredness, self-righteousness, whatever you want to call it, it's all encapsulated in the word Adam. So Jesus, as the second Adam, comes and brings us his nature, his illuminated and illuminating nature, which is different than the first Adam. And that it is the first Adamic nature. Forget about the man for a minute. I mean, I think the story just illuminates what it is in our nature that ends up being toxic, ends up bringing toxic results in our lives and toxic attitudes, toxic feelings, that if we look at it more as a dynamic to avoid, as a dynamic to crucify. Because, obviously the New Testament speaks of us dying to ourselves daily and as of us crucifying our sin man. Really, that's the Adamic nature. Now, am I saying that's all there is to human nature? No. I'm saying that it is, the way that Adam portrayed in the Bible, is it is a specific stronghold of action that keeps us from walking in fellowship with God. And we see that that Adam lost that fellowship with God in the garden. He walked in the cool of the garden with him, and then his actions, his mindsets, he and Eve's both. Something happened, some dynamic occurred there, which caused them to lose that intimacy with God. And on the day that they ate of the forbidden fruit, and that's really what we're talking about. I'm telling you, every day we can eat of that fruit. I mean, I can be, if I wake up in this morning on the wrong side of the bed, spiritually speaking, I can get up and start eating from that fruit all the day long. And I don't walk with the Lord. I don't walk in the cool of the garden with him. I don't walk in relational interaction with him. So what is it about the Adamic nature that we're supposed to draw from today, here, and now? Well, before I get into that, let me just say, so was there a literal Adam and Eve? I really don't think that's necessary to conclude that there was. There may have been. I mean, I'm not going to jump up and down when all is known in the end of time, whether there was an Adam and Eve. That's cool, but that's not the primary meaning for us today, here, and now. It is for us to look at the Adamic nature. And really, if you look at the Old Testament, the Adamic nature is revealed throughout Old Testament characters, because you see people like Moses who have sort of a bipolar aspect to them, where they're striking the rock one minute, they're blessing it the next minute, they're forgiving, they're hating, they're destroying, they're calling wrath down on enemies. And then you got Jesus as the second Adam coming in the New Testament saying, no, my Father's perfection lies in that he doesn't do those things to his enemies. He loves his enemies. He overcomes them with goodness. And we're called to do the same thing. And that's in Matthew 5:38 through 48. That's the Sermon on the Mount, which I think is the most important passage in the Bible on the second Adam. Jesus is coming to reveal the second Adamic nature. This is who we're all called to actually be. All right, this is the humanity at its finest. It's humanity that is in linkage and is tethered to God's nature, so that we are working, cooperating together in this realm. But the Adamic nature operates outside that. There's no tethering to God with the Adamic nature. It is the self-righteousness. I make my own decisions about what is good and evil. I make my own decisions about everything. Everything is my opinion, all right? And I rule my own life, whether you put it in those terms or not. But when we choose the second Adamic nature, that's a nature that is in submission to the Holy Spirit, that is in submission to the mind of Christ, to the Spirit of Christ. It doesn't mean we're perfect, but it means we have access to perfection. And as any day, it depends on whether we eat from the knowledge of good and evil or that day, or whether we eat from the tree of life. All right, it's all about what we are consciously walking in. We all want to consciously walk in interaction and peace with God. So I may post another video on this later, but I hope this blessed you. And don't get hung up on whether there's a literal Adam in a garden somewhere and that we have to figure all this stuff out. And we know so little about Adam. I mean, a couple of paragraphs. Most of the Old Testament characters, we only know just so little about them. And there's not really a whole lot of humanity that gets brought out, but they're there to teach us dynamics, both positive and negative dynamics. But everyone in the Old Testament had negative dynamics. A lot of them had good dynamics too, but they had negative dynamics. Jesus comes in the New Testament to teach us with the bad dynamics, those mindsets that are causing the bad dynamics. We are to crucify those, and that's a good thing. All right, that's not a painful thing. I mean, it may hurt our flesh for a little while, but there is a higher lightness of being and glory that's waiting for us. And the Adamic, so we don't have to slam any particular individual or blame any individual. This is stuff that's endemic to us. This is stuff that's here with us now. Chesterton said that we're all seasick and we're all in the same boat. Okay, and I think that's a good way to look at it. So the Adamic nature is just another way of saying the carnal nature, the spiritless nature, that part in us that resists God and doesn't want to be led by God and doesn't want to interact with Him. I mean, we may say we do, but it's that part in us that really doesn't want that lukewarmness. So anyhow, I hope this blessed you. Thanks. See you next time.